Woo, I can feel them coming for me on this one. This is a Toyota Tacoma, and this is why it is the most overrated, overpriced truck in American history. So, before we dive in too deep, I just want to say I do think Tacomas are good overall. They check a lot of boxes. They are what they're designed to be. But why are they overrated and overpriced? Well, for one, whenever you look at a mid-size truck, you say, oh, it's a mid-size truck. It must be much less expensive than a full-size. Well, you would be wrong. They're actually very expensive. So, you know, they must get a lot better fuel economy. You'd also be wrong again. But, you know, in terms of not having very good fuel economy, they must have at least reasonable power. No, they're actually slow as hell. So this, by example, is a 2021 Tacoma TRD Sport. This particular one's a two-wheel drive, not the point. Now, rather this was a 2021, a 22, or a 2006, you wouldn't know the difference because they never change. Now, finally, after like 40 years, Tacoma updated them this year. And 40 years is a mild exaggeration, but it's mild, right? But ultimately, they never really changed. Back to fuel economy, this V6 is rated to get the same fuel economy that a Ram 1500 with the Hurricane or the Hemi are. And those aren't traditionally your best commuter cars. So I can already hear them, what they're saying. Well, they're just so reliable. You're right, they are reliable. They reliably get terrible fuel economy, and they don't make enough power to break anything. Now, don't get me wrong, like I say, it is a reliable, good vehicle. I would love for my daughter to have one someday because no full-size man can fit anywhere in this truck. So, I know what else you might say, you know, I don't need them to be that big, I don't need any of that stuff, as long as it can just tow a little bit. Well, you would have hit the nail on the head if you said a little bit. They barely have enough power to move themselves, much less tow really hardly anything. Now again, nothing I've said so far is necessarily that big of a deal, aside from the fact that it is that big of a deal when you compare what you can buy for the same money. So again, this is mostly about the Tacoma because of their reputation and how people just absolutely love them, which is probably one of the reasons that they are annoying, to be honest. But don't worry, Rangers, Colorados, they are also not innocent. Let me know if you want to see a video on something like that. And don't get me wrong, they are popular, they have a following, but we get these traded in more than almost anything else because so many people go buy them. They always wanted one or they thought they wanted one. They go get one, they have kids, the car seats don't fit, nothing fits. They don't ride that great, not a lot of power, not a lot of room, not great fuel economy. I mean, unless you're just doing something very specific, you're really just buying it because it's a Tacoma. Now, like I say, they do have a pretty niche where they are spectacular, right? Off-roading, small, compact, blah, blah, blah. That's great. They do a good job. There's a lot of things that you can take off-road on dirt roads and things like that, and they don't off-road quite to the level of, say, something like a Wrangler, and they're also not nearly as comfortable as something like, say, an F-150 or a Ram 1500 or whatever, if you're not doing any, like, crazy off-roading. I think part of the reason these trucks drive us all so crazy is that the fans are just so annoying. I mean, whether you're a Ford, Chevy, Dodge, Ram, GMC, whatever fan, we can all agree that Toyotas are, you know, by far the, the worst case scenario. The other annoying thing about Toyota is when they're super outdated, like these Tacomas or even their Tundras were until they redid it, everybody just says, well, if it's not broke, don't fix it, right? Those same guys turn around and bash Ford and Chevy and Ram if they haven't updated something in like 2 or 3 years, right? They keep saying blah, 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 all that stuff. So I mean, these trucks were just the same thing forever. Their prices kept increasing. And like I say, I overall don't think it's a bad rig. It's just not a rig that you spend the kind of money these things are requiring. I would call the Tacomas like the 6.5 Creedmoor of vehicles, pretty much, right? There's nothing inherently wrong with it if you're using it for what it was designed for, but the people who own them all try to tell you how much better they are than everything else. But again, this video is mostly just to kind of give the Toyota boys a hard time, but nothing I'm saying is also false. Like I say, they have a very particular niche that they really make sense over a lot of other things. But if you're not in that niche, you're really just buying it because it's a Tacoma and you want one, which not that there's not cases of that with other things, right? But that's just the reality. In terms of reliability and practicality, these ones certainly did check a lot of boxes, right? And I wasn't all the way joking when I said I'd love for my daughter to have one of these. They are really good. And if you're not hauling a bunch of people around, you know, anything like that, but you want something that's reliable and will get you around and, you know, you can go do some off-roading with and stuff like that, man, it's a really awesome pick if you know, fish by yourself a lot or go hunting by yourself or whatever. So again, just to reiterate, it's not necessarily the truck itself I have a problem with, it's the price you pay for what the reality of the vehicle is, which again, it's a good vehicle, but it is not, it should not be the same price as full-size, you know, 10 times more capable overall trucks. So again, guys, this is a 2021. Let's look at some of the features, okay? You got auto windows, power locks, whatever. No power folding mirrors, which is fine because it's not like this truck's big enough to ever be squished anywhere. You got the jellyfish launcher there we all like to joke about. All your electronics, whatever. This one does actually have the adaptive cruise control and some other stuff. Again, it doesn't feel terrible to drive. It has some features. Again, this isn't really to bag on the truck itself. It's more just bagging on the price point that a truck with the features this one has and the size range with the capabilities, how much they are. This is also the only type of truck that I swear to heavens, I can't tell you how many people I've heard that have a two-wheel drive with a locker tell me how that's actually so much better than like an FX4 F-150 with four-wheel drive. That the two-wheel drive Tacoma will out-off-road the four-wheel drive FX4 F-150 or Rebel or whatever you want to say. And while technically that could technically be true, quote-unquote, in certain scenarios, that's just exactly what we're talking about with the annoying odors. You know, so again, guys, they're fine trucks. It's just like this one, by example. It's a two-wheel drive, no locker, I mean, nothing, right? And for whatever reason, these trucks are super popular and sell all the time. I just don't understand what's so desirable about a really expensive thing that doesn't really accomplish anything that you couldn't do with virtually anything else. Like I say, I know there's, you know, talk about TRDs, talk about some of that stuff, that's fine, right? There is a place for it. It's just very small for the amount of, like, just absolute fanboyum there is for these things. These things are so severely, sincerely loved. It's unbelievable. I can't even, I have to make up words to describe the way people love these things, and I really can't figure out why. Speaking of power, you can really tell the difference in driving this and a lot of the other trucks. I spend a lot of time in all kinds of trucks. I work at a truck store, it's all we do, and man, there's such a power difference between this and even some of the V6 full-size trucks. Not twin turbos, your regular V6s. So again, I don't want to make it sound like it's bad. They're not bad. I just don't understand the absolute fandom and the love for them in the modern day market when they're so expensive, right? Like I say, they check a lot of boxes. They're reliable, sure. They do well off-road and things like that. But they're just so unbelievably expensive for what you get. I don't understand why there's such a big following today. But as always, guys, let me know if you have one, if you used to have one, if you like them, don't like them, what you think, why I'm wrong, crazy, indifferent. Like I say, at least all of us real truck fellas can agree that, you know, you Toyota folks are really annoying. But no, in all seriousness, that's going to do it, guys. Drop a like, subscribe, leave me a comment, let me know what you think. Later.